again, we start with a short mindful breathing exercise, watching the breath mindfully. Then we can try to generate good intention by thinking, by us coming here together with good intentions, giving our precious time and energy to listen to the talk on this text, and reflecting, contemplating them, engage in discussions. May all of that inspire us, encourage us, become cause to study more on Buddha nature, Tathagata Garbha, emptiness. And having studied, may it inspire us to meditate, put into the practice, and through practices, may we be able to generate the wisdom realizing Tathagata Garbha, Dharmadhatu, the emptiness of our mind. And that wisdom supported by the bodhicitta mind, may we be able to enter the bodhisattva path and make progress. And achieve fully enlightened state. In order to liberate all sentient beings from all their suffering and cause of suffering. And in order to guide them to ultimate happiness of fully enlightenment. And every activities that we engage in our life, throughout our life, this year, this month, this week, especially during today, may all of them become cause and conditions to develop loving kindness, compassion, bodhicitta mind, and wisdom. and may all become cause of enlightenment. Okay. Can anyone be able to share the? Yeah, thank you. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merits I create through listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. Sangye chodang soke sonam, changju parata. Dagi choshe kibe sonam, dola tenche sangye do. Sangye chodang soke sonam, changju parata. Dagi choshe kibe sonam, dola tenche sangye do para. Sure. So in last week, we kind of end. I think we finished verse number 49, yeah, and we are in verse number 50, and again, in some of the earlier verses, it talk about why we are due to the ignorance, why we are in samsara, and by having cultivated the wisdom relies in the emptiness, and then you can get out of the samsara, and that is how you're free of samsara. So that is what it is. So, and continuing that in a verse number 50, by dwelling in the lamp of prajna, so the light of the prajna, the wisdom, realizing the emptiness, or realizing the dharmadhatu, it turned into a peace supreme, Then through that, then one can, by understand through the wisdom light, realizing the emptiness, that is free from, that has pacified the existence, truly existence. Through that, then one can achieve, supreme peace, the nirvana, total freedom from the samsara, And so the collections of the sutras says, and so that is what, in many of the sutras, many of the sutras has explained by the Buddha. That is how one free from the samsara. By exploring yourself, you should rest, And by investigating, analyzing, oneself and all phenomena, how they really exist, what is their real true nature, and having explored, having investigated, analysis, through that analysis, exploring, then you come to understand, realize the true nature of your mind and self and all phenomena, by understanding they are empty of truly existence. And once you have that understanding, the ultimate nature of your own mind and other phenomena, then you try to rest in that state of emptiness, that understanding, that realization of the emptiness. Then one try to rest in that, simply just be through that, once you are that realization, being aware with that awareness, then you try to rest in that. And through that, that's how you can free from the samsara. So, and then, that is, also in the sutras, such as, the sutra of parinirvana, nirvana, then Buddha give, example, the delusions as like the delusion is like a wood, and the wisdom prasna is like the fire that burn that wood. Similarly, through that wisdom fire or light, then you burn the afflictive emotion and the imprint led by the afflictive emotion, and through that, then you achieve the enlightenment. So so next one, it explains how the Buddha who possessed the stainless dharmakaya, those Buddhas, how Buddha's activities and the blessing is not being able to experience or receive by those who have lower merit, and with the example, together with the example, and how sentient beings can achieve liberation and fully enlightenment through the help of the blessings and the activities of the Buddhas. So, children blessed by the tenfold power force see them like a Christian of the moon. So here children means, sentient beings, the sentient beings, who have the karma, those who have free from the obscurations to receive the Buddha's activities or blessings or the force or power, so they receive that, they are able to receive those sentient beings. Children are able to receive the Buddhas who possess tenfold powers, some of the qualities. And for those sentient beings, then they see like Christian of the moon means, then having received the blessings or received the activities of the Buddhas, since they already have the Buddha nature, and then they receive, is like, you have the seed, and now you are receiving the rain, getting the rain. And when you get the rain, then that your, the Buddha nature, the seed, the potentials, is increase or become more, and through practice, become more and more pure, and slowly, you are able to achieve fully enlightenment. So it's like starting from the first day of the moon, and then the moon getting bigger and bigger, and then lead to the full moon. Similarly like that, the full moon is the enlightenment. And so sentient beings are able to, progress on the path, becoming more and more purified, becoming more and more enlightened, through their practice. and the practice that is based on Buddha nature through the health and the blessings and the activities of the Buddha. So that is how, one progress. But those beings with afflictions, but those sentient beings who have too much negative karma, too much afflictive emotions, and the imprints, then and they cannot see that Tathagatas, they are unable to see that Tathagata, the Buddha, And it's not because the Buddha is not there, but because due to their own obscurations, they are unable to see. That obscuration obstructs them from seeing. And so then giving example is, just as the ghost with the thirst and hunger, like hungry ghost, see the ocean to be dry, So it is said, the hungry ghosts, because of their karma, because of their karma, even the oceans full of water in front of them, because of their karma, they cannot see the ocean. They cannot experience it. Instead, they see dry, So it's not that the ocean is not there. It's not that the water is not there, but due to their karma, due to their obscurations, due to their karmic obscurations, they are unable to see and experience that. And so that is similarly like that, Those obscured by the ignorance think the Buddha do not exist. In the same way, sentient beings who have been obscured by their own karma, their own delusion, their own obscurations, then even the Buddha is in the present of them, in front of them, they are unable to see it. And because they cannot see it, then they think and say, the Buddha do not exist. And so it is, And same thing, for us, maybe we might not say the Buddha do not exist, but still, we wonder whether Buddha is there or not. We know that Buddha Shakyamuni came into the world, and apart from that, sometimes again, because we cannot see. If you see it, you experience it, then you wouldn't have any doubt. But since we cannot see it, we cannot experience it, then sometimes, we have doubt, whether we are able to actually, whether Buddhas are there, whether we can really receive their blessings, whether we can really receive their activities, And the reason is that because we are unable to see it. And the reason, just because we can't see it, it doesn't mean it's not there.
May I ask something?
Please. Yes, please.
I've always wondered about this. It's kind of like a chicken and egg thing. Which one comes first? So sentient beings with a lot of negative karmas and obscuration, and maybe does not have the merit, they cannot receive Buddha's blessing and Buddha's activities. So they cannot go in the direction of the Dharma. They cannot even start. So what happened to these people? I mean, it's like sometimes we say we are preaching to the choir, people who already have the imprints, the practice, and then we can listen to more teachings and we can receive more teachings. But on the other hand, people who don't have that, so how do these people start?
Yes, those people who have more merit and those who have better karma, they are able to receive more. Those who have less conditions or karma or who have more obscurations, they receive, but they cannot receive so much. It's like, plant which receives, just trickles of just little trickle of the
Yeah. Yeah.
water.
Well, in this verse, they are saying that they cannot see the Buddha, or they cannot receive Buddha's blessing. So if they cannot receive even Buddha's blessing, what others beings blessing can they receive? So
Sometimes, as I mentioned, they can still receive some blessing, but not fully. Just like I said, you can just get a little bit kind of drips of water from the rain, but not enough waters, and so they can still but they will not receive as much as the other sentient beings. For example, even within the sentient beings, for example, when you reach the first path, the path of accumulations, within that there is 3 stages, initial, middle, and great stages. And when you reach the great stages of first path, the path accumulation, then you achieve, or you develop what you call the concentration of chogyun, the concentrations of continuous dharma. And when you have that, then you are able to even see the Buddhas directly all the time and receive teachings all the time. And so you see, even among those sentient beings who have merit and positive karma, depending on your level or how much positive karma you have, depending on how much merit you have, then according to that you are able to see more and more. The less you have, you are able to see less. The more you have, you are able to see more and more. You are able to receive more and more. And so that is how it is. And so. But also we have to remember, sometimes certain sentient beings might receive more from the bodhisattvas than the Buddhas. And some of them might receive even more from someone who is non-bodhisattva than bodhisattvas, depending on their karmic connections. And that also play a role. For example, the bodhisattvas who is crying all the time. There is a story of the bodhisattva crying all the time. In a Prasanaparamita Sutras, it describes, because he have reached certain point of his level of practice, he has this like that concentration he have received, so he is able to receive teaching from the Buddhas directly. But he was given advice to go and see and receive teaching from one of the bodhisattvas, Bodhisattva Chopa. And it is said the moment he heard that, something really inspired him, just hearing the name, something really, and then he go in the search of that, and then he meet the Bodhisattva Chopa, and then he received teaching from them. And his mind was much more, his mind was, he make much more progress very quickly by receiving from teaching from that bodhisattvas than actually from the Buddhas, because he has very strong karmic connection with that bodhisattvas. And that could be with others. So in that sense, it's like he received the blessing from that bodhisattva more than even the Buddha, in a sense, because of that strong karmic connections. And that is same, there is a story of also the Milarepa, At the very beginning, he met one teachers who was most well-known teachers on, Dzogchen at that time, Dzogchen Mahamudra, most well-known, but he didn't have strong karmic connections. Therefore, even it didn't really kind of inspire him so much. But then that teacher saw that, and then that teacher also saw his karmic connection, the marva, and he told, maybe you should go and study with the marva. And again, when he heard the marvas, then again, something immediately kind of moved his mind. Something, he felt very strong connection, something moved. And of course, he went and searched for the marva. And then after studying with the marva, that is how he make progress. So sometimes it's not about how much more enlightened the person is. Sometimes it's more about how much strong karmic connection you have. That can be even more beneficial. Sometimes we always look for, oh, I want more enlightened being, to be my teachers. More higher, more enlightened, we feel like we will be receive more. It is not always necessary that. Sometimes is how much strong karmic connection you have, And that one we even experience in our life, Sometimes some people, they meet some of the most enlightened teachers, and somehow their teachings or their meeting and teaching, they cannot connect fully. And they meet someone who is less enlightened, less learned, but then they say something about that topic or teaching, it started to make sense, connect them, and that it really transformed them. And because, again, sometimes it's a karmic connection. So therefore, even those who are unable to receive the blessing from the Buddhas, they could receive blessing from the bodhisattvas, or they could receive blessing from non-bodhisattvas, where they can have a strong karmic connection as well. Okay. And then the next one is kind of continuity of that, if we don't create the karma from outside, if we don't create the condition from outside, even though from Buddha's side, even though, is unconditional love and compassion, in terms of his love and compassion, unconditional, non-discriminating, impartial, loving kindness, compassion, equally to all sentient beings, even though his activities and the blessings, is quick to receive and all of that. But if we don't create the right cause and condition, then again, we will not be able to receive it. It's just like there are different examples that they give, In some example, like when it's raining, the rain has no discriminating and it's raining, but in order to get the rain, you have to put the plant in the right place. If you put the plant in the house and it's raining, you will not receive that. And it's nothing to do with the rain itself, but because you haven't put the plant in the right place to receive that. And it will be same with the sun. The sun has no discriminating, but in order to receive the sun, you have to put your plant in a place where it can receive that. And such is also, and so from our side, from the sentient being side, the blessings always there. It's like the rain, the sun, but to receive it, you have to put the plant in the right place. Same way, we have to create the cause and conditions to receive that. And if we don't create that right cause and condition, then we are unable to receive it. And not because there was something discriminating or wrong from that the object there from the Buddha side, but it's just like the rain and sun, So similarly, that is what here. Similarly, also here, what is the Bhagwan supposed to do for inferior and those who are merits low? So, for example, it is saying inferior here in some commentary. It says, inferior in terms of you don't have a strong, perseverance to the virtues, or you don't have the wisdom, and either you don't have that because you don't have the wisdom, you don't have the perseverance and the virtues, or those who merit is low, you don't have enough merit, you have not created enough merit. And for those, from the Buddha side, the blessing is always there, the activity is always there, but due to you not having created the right condition, you are unable to receive it and get the benefit from it. It's just like the supreme jewel put in the hand of one who is blind, So it is saying, someone who is blind, maybe again, the example nowadays, with the technology, even they can see a lot, but like, in the past, when you don't have technology and all of that, or, training for people who have handicap, then even someone food, very precious jewel on someone's hand, they will not be able to differentiate whether it's a special jewel or whether it's just a stone. And so they will not be able to take advantage of that, use it, because they might just throw it because they think it is a stone. So they are unable to receive the benefit of that. If they realize it's a jewel, they could sell it and they could get the benefit from that. But because they are unable to see that, and then think it is a stone, and they might just throw it and unable to receive the benefit. In the same way, if we don't create the right condition from outside, right merit, and right virtues and right conditions, then we are unable to get the benefit and receive the benefit and the blessing and activities from the Buddha. Even though from their side it is always there, it's always there. So. And so again, continuing that, so that is how those who does not have enough merit and inferiors who are unable, but those who have merit, then they can see it. That is what it. But for being who acquired merits, the Buddha dwells in before their eyes with the 32 marks shining bright and in their luminous and glorious light. But, for those sentient beings who have created enough karma and clear the obscurations, who have created enough merit to clear the obscuration, for those sentient beings, then, the Buddha is always there. The Buddha is present all the time, everywhere, all the time. And not only they are able to see the Buddhas, the enlightened beings, the Buddhas, all the time, everywhere, but they are able to see the Buddhas in their full, in their full, what you call, glorious form, in their full glorious form, because Buddha can manifest as ordinary beings, and we might see them, but we might not see them in a glorious form, we just see like ordinary beings. But here, when you have enough merit and when you have clear the obscuration, then not only you are able to see the Buddhas, but you are able to see everywhere all the time and in that glorious form, such as, with the 32 major mark and 80 minor signs, So with all major and minor signs, in full Buddha's form, glorious Buddha's form. And of course, again, there are many, there are many kind of discussions and what are those 32 major marks, 80 minor signs of the enlightened beings that signifies enlightened beings, those are the kind of sign. But again, we don't want to go in that, okay? Otherwise, again, so that is what. And I can, again, it's kind of It just kind of a thought came in my mind in relation to the previous cautions, you know. In some of the Lamrim texts, you know, Lamrim commentaries, you know, when it comes to the section on Guru devotions, and in the section where they talk about the kindness of the Guru, even more kind than the Buddhas, you know, and that was one of the things, you know. We are able to see the Buddhas when our practice get better and better, when we have more and more merit, when our karma become better and better, you know, and when we have become more advanced in our practice, we are able to see the Buddhas and receive the teachings and get the benefit. But when you are in laws, when we don't have much karma and a lot of obscurations and not enough merit to see the Buddha, that is when the Guru comes and help us. When you are in the most, you know, and so therefore it's like, you know, when you are starving, someone offer you a food. And when you are full and you have plenty to eat, someone offering you food, you will very much appreciate and kindness of someone who offer you when you are starving, hungry. And so therefore, that is also why they say, you know, that is why from that point of view, you know, why Guru is even more, and so that is what it came to. Again, I said, even they might not be able to receive the blessing of the Buddha, but they might be able to receive the blessing from a Guru, which they have karmic connections, and who might not be fully enlightened. So anyway, that just thought came, you know. So the next one, you know, so if the sentient beings who have the karma and merit to see the Buddhas and receive the teachings and the benefit and they receive the activities, so they can make progress. So then how does, you know, how does the Buddhas help and benefit the sentient beings, you know? So then there's through the protectors rubakaya, you know, the form bodies. So there are two kinds of rubakaya, you know, sambhavakaya and nirmanakaya. Two kinds of rubakaya, okay? So by manifesting either in sambhavakaya or nirmanakaya, you know, through that and by remaining in for the eons and eons in respective place of individual sentient beings to be subdued, you know, they remain, and then guiding them, you know, inspiring, teaching them, guiding them like that, you know, and then for those guiding in the need of guidance, you know, so according to individual sentient beings, predispositions, according to individual sentient beings, karmic imprint, you know, their interests, you know, according to their capacity, individual sentient being capacity, then the Buddha will manifest in either either in Rubakaya, either in Sambhavakaya or Nirmanakaya, and then manifesting that, and then guiding them, you know, through different means, different way of guiding, different way of leading them for eons and eons, you know. So that's how they benefit and help sentient beings. It's just that this Dharmadhatu, it's just this Dharmadhatu that is different. I don't know whether that is the exact So I think maybe it might come later. Sambhogakaya are the Buddha's, form that is manifested to the bodhisattvas, only Arya bodhisattvas, only the Arya bodhisattvas can see the Sambhogakaya form and able to receive the guidance and the teachings from them. Those who are not Arya bodhisattvas, they cannot see due to their karma. But the Nirmanakaya, even the ordinary sentient beings who have not entered the bodhisattva path, even they can see the Nirmanakaya and they can get teaching from them, they can get guidance from them. So Buddha Shakyamuni is an example of one of the Nirmanakaya form. Within the Nirmanakaya form, then there are three different examples and three different kinds of Nirmanakaya, and one of them is known as Supreme Nirmanakaya, and the Buddha Shakyamuni is in the form of Supreme Nirmanakaya. And so Buddha Shakyamuni, those who saw him, those who receive his teachings, blessings, guidance, not all of them are bodhisattvas. There are many who are non-bodhisattvas. Not all of them have entered the path. Many of them who are just beginner sentient beings, very ordinary sentient beings, but who have certain merit, certain karma, and so due to that, then they're able to. So, but in terms of the Tathagata Garbha or Dharmadhatu of the Sambhogakaya and Nirmanakaya, there's no difference in terms of that, in that Dharmadhatu of the two. Even though those two Buddhas manifest differently in order to benefit different sentient beings according to their needs. But in terms of what caused them to manifest and be help and benefit to others is their own Dharmadhatu, their own Tathagata Garbha. And in that Tathagata Garbha, there is in nature, there's no difference, And so the only difference is, in a just expect, in the nature they are inseparate one, but it is in the expect is a difference. The only difference in the expect of that, so. Okay. Again, I think there are, again, we don't have time to go detail in Sambhogakaya, Nirmanakaya, again, that is very, what Sambhogakayas, what are the nature, like, yeah. So I don't think, again, if we go there, we will get stuck there. And we will not be able to finish at all. So if the Buddhas, through manifesting in Sambhogakaya and Nirmanakaya to help and benefit sentient beings through their teachings, guidance, if they manifest in that, then how does the sentient beings, achieve enlightenment after having received the blessings and the activities and the guidance from either from Sambhogakaya or Nirmanakaya. So how can, after you receive all of that, their guidance, their teachings, and their blessings, how the sentient beings can achieve enlightenment? And so that is so that is where it is. Asserting the object of the mind, consciousness will arise, engage in it. So here is, at the very beginning, then through meditations, reflection, contemplations, then you ascertain the object of the mind, that is the emptiness, dharmadhatu, that is the ultimate nature of your mind and phenomena, So through meditations, through reflection, contemplations, asserting the object of the mind, that is the dharmadhatu, and having that ascertain that, then you, through your practice meditation, the consciousness will engage into it, then your consciousness at the very beginning engage and realize the emptiness or dharmadhatu, with a general image, because you don't have direct realization, So again, in terms of realization and emptiness, we can talk about, first, there is intellectual understanding of it, okay? First, there is intellectual understanding of that. Then it is not enough just to have intellectual understanding. We have to go beyond intellectual understanding. We have to have experiential understanding of it. And we do that through engaging with that practice, that object, the emptiness, through practice, meditations. And even in terms of experiential understanding or realizations, at the very beginning, your understanding, experiential understanding, is not direct. It is with reasoning and logic, with a thought. You use reasoning and logic. So it comes, so it is with a concept. It is experiential realization, understanding, but it is still with the concept. It is still with the concept. So in terms of the path, the first two paths, path of accumulation, path of preparations, the understanding or realizing emptiness is still with the concept. Then when you reach the third path, the path of seeing, then that is when you have direct realization without any concept. And that is what direct realizations, so, and then, even after that, you continue to meditate and sharpening your wisdom, the mind, and then, more and more sharpening, and then getting rid of those more and more gross level of delusion to more subtle and subtle and subtle, and finally, so that is where, so that is the first consciousness will engage in. So that is when you have understanding, realize experiential understanding, but with a concept. Once your very own awareness becomes pure, that is when, when you have a direct realization of emptiness now. When you have direct realizations of the Dharmadhatu now, then that, now you have direct realization of emptiness as you progress on the path with your practice meditations, then with your own awareness, that is able to realize the emptiness directly, through that, then you are able to, purify and destroy, the ignorance, the gross level of ignorance, gross level of the ignorance, and you will do right in the bhumi's nature, and then you enter the first bhumi, when you have that direct realization of emptiness. And then at that time, you purify, particular obscuration that is known as, the obscurations of the path of seeing, and at that time, then you have overcome that obscurations, that is the obscuration to it. And you overcome that obscuration and you enter the first bhumi, the first bhumi. And then once you receive that first bhumi, then again you continue to meditate on emptiness and again continue to create more merit through the method practices, through the others practice of other paramitas, and slowly through the path of meditations, then you begin to, 9 point of the 9 bhumis, throughout the 9 bhumis, on the path of meditations, then you begin to, remove, in first, remove the innate, the innate ignorance, and innate ignorance that are, 3 gross level, 3 subtle level, 3 more subtle level. So you just started to remove the gross level to, gross of the subtle of gross and more subtle of gross, and then, the medium, the gross of the medium, and like that, slowly. And then eventually, you at the 10 bhumi, by relying on the vajra-like concentrations, then you destroy the most subtle of subtles, most subtle obscurations. And then next moment, you achieve dharmakaya. And so that is how you want to achieve how a sentient being achieve the enlightenment dharmakaya through your practice that is being supported by the Buddha's blessings, activities, and their guidance and teachings. So that is how. And so now next is, if the Sambhogakaya and Nirmanakaya, the Buddha manifesting Sambhogakaya and Nirmanakaya in order to help the sentient beings to achieve, dharmakaya, the Buddhahood, so then how does they do? By dueling in what Buddha's field, by dueling in what Buddha field. And so now it's explaining a little bit of, that one. Because different Buddhas, of different manifesting Buddha duel in different Buddha fields, so the great and mighty one supreme abode, Aganista, is so beautiful, so so the great and mighty supreme ones, that is the greater than the, the 10 bhumi, and it's greater than the 10 bhumi, and, the field of the bodhisattvas of the 10 bhumi, which is greater and mightier than that one, that is the Buddha's supreme field. And if you have to name it, the name of that Buddha field is called Aganeshita, and so, and that is so beautiful. So the Buddhas duel in that, and the consciousness, all 3 of them fuse into single ones, So 3 consciousness here, again, I kind of already explained a little bit. The three consciousness is the first consciousness that relies the emptiness with the concept. And then as it progress, then it relies directly when you are on the first path as a bodhisattva. And then throughout the 10 bhumi, you sharpening your wisdom and realization and emptiness, it become more and more sharp. It become, and then eventually it perfect. That wisdom become, the wisdom realizing the emptiness become perfect. That's when you achieve enlightenment. So the wisdom realizing the Dharmadhatu, beginning with concept, secondly, without concept directly, and thirdly, that wisdom realizing the emptiness directly, that has been perfected, with the support of the method, the bodhicitta mind, with the support of that has been perfected, and through that support of the bodhicitta that have eliminated all the delusions and imprint left by all the delusions, and that consciousness, that wisdom, those three consciousness of the wisdom or awareness fuse into single. When you achieve enlightenment, then they all become one, inseparable. At the very beginning, they are separate. One is with concept, one is directly but not perfected, and then at the end, it's not only directly realizing, but it's perfected. So on the path, they are different, But once you achieve enlightenment, then they have become fused with one, inseparable. Fused with one, inseparable. Then there is no distinguishing of those three consciousness anymore. Then there is no distinguishing of those three different consciousness anymore when you achieve enlightenment. And I think that is also, some when we when sentient beings achieve enlightenment, all their consciousness become infused in one, like, different waters, sources come from different places, some from mountains, some from the springs, some from different places. And then once they go into the ocean, then it becomes inseparable one. Even though so many came from different sources, different places, different sources. But once it entered the ocean, it becomes inseparable one. And same, even though we all sentient beings separate, different sources, but once we enter the enlightenment, the ocean of enlightenment, then that mind, enlightened mind of all sentient beings that have become the ocean of enlightened beings become inseparable. Oneness, inseparable. So, and if your Dharmadhatu or your own Buddha nature, Dharmadhatu, is the very cause and root of all these three consciousness. Is the root of all three consciousness. So is your Dharmadhatu, is it cause or is it root of only those three consciousness, or is a root of other things? So then it is explaining, not only the Dharmadhatu, because of, if we don't have that Buddha nature, if we don't have that Buddha Dharmadhatu, then one cannot realize the Dharmadhatu, realize the emptiness with a concept. You can never realize. And neither you can realize directly, neither you can be perfected. But because our nature, our own Dharmadhatu, the nature of our mind is not inherent in existence, because nature of our mind is not static. If it's inherent in existence, then it becomes static, it becomes permanent. So no matter what you do, it will always remain same thing. It can't be changed. So therefore, it can't be from not realizing to realizing, from realizing to concept to realizing directly, and from being realizing direct to realizing perfectly. All this cannot happen, because if it's inherent in existence, it will be static, and so it will always remain as it is. But because it's not inherent existence, therefore it can be changed, it can be transformed when certain cause and condition come together. And therefore, that is what allow, that the nature of mind being empty of truly or inherent existence is that allow us to have realizations and direct realizations, and then perfect and achieve enlightenment. And so because of that, Dharmadhatu, the nature, because of our nature, ultimate nature of our mind being that case, and so not only that, then it is saying, it is also root of, the longevities of, again, the Tathagatas, and also on the path, so that is the next one. Now, as for those all among the childish, the diversity among the nobles, and the great and mighty, infinite in time, what is the cause of the time in eons? So according to some of the commentaries, when it is said, as for knowing all among the childish, it means, the Nirmanakaya, the Buddha Nirmanakaya. Okay, because the Buddha Nirmanakaya is some Buddha's manifestations that can be experienced by even the ordinary sentient beings. Even the ordinary sentient beings. Okay, ordinary sentient beings who are free from certain obscuration, who are free from certain karma, even they are able to see, they are able to experience them, and diverse is among the nobles, and that is the Sambhavakaya. That is the Sambhavakaya, Noble one here referring to the bodhisattvas, Arya bodhisattvas. Okay, so diversity among the noble, because those who are able to see the Sambhavakaya and experience Sambhavakaya are those only the Arya bodhisattvas, So those are the so that is this, with these two, it explains the two Rupakaya, some Nirvanakaya and Sambhavakaya. And then the great, mighty, infinite in time. So here, infinite in time is Sababe, Amitayus, infinite life. Maybe it might be infinite life, So, and great and mighty ones, so such as particular Buddha, such as Amitayus, infinite Buddha, What is the cause of time in the aeons, So what is the cause for them to live? So those Amitayus, lives for aeons and aeons, no dying. no dying, no rebirth, no rebirth, no dying, free from all of that, dying, rebirth, So the cause for them to able to remain, for aeons and aeons, according to whatever sentient beings needs, in order to guide the sentient beings as much as it is needed, that they can remain for aeons and aeons without death and birth. The cause for that is their own Dharmadhatu, their Dharmadhatu. So Dharmadhatu is cause for that. So Dharmadhatu is the cause for that. So again, it is explaining, that Dharmadhatu. And also, not only Dharmadhatu is the cause of, the Nirmanakaya, Sambhavakaya, and the infinite, the Buddha infinite life, for them to remain for eons and eons, to guide the sentient beings. But also, it is a cause for even those who have not achieved enlightenment now, but who are on the path to achieve enlightenment. So not only it is a call for those sentient beings who are on the path, who have not achieved enlightenment, and who can also again, remain for many, many eons. Some of the bodhisattvas, for example, some of the bodhisattvas, again, they can remain, without dying and rebirth for eons and eons, and also not only is a cause for their realizations, but also it is a cause for their longevities, and all of them again is their own Dharmadhatu. So that for sustaining and durations during eons truly infinite. So those are for those who are on the path, those even not those who have not achieved enlightenment, even for them to sustain and live, for eons while on their path, and the cause of that is again their own Dharmadhatu. And so also all beings, outer realms, and for creatures, life forces to remain, this is what is inexhaustible cause. And again, and so again, in this inexhaustible cause for them, their life forces remain, and all of that is again this Dharmadhatu. And in those whose fruition is exhaustible through the special trait of non-appearance, engaged in the full prajna sex. So due to that Dharmadhatu, the result, those fruitions, whether it's within the path, those who are on the path, and those who have gone beyond the path and fully enlightenment, not only those results are inexhaustible due to that inexhaustible Dharmadhatu, but through the special trait of non-appearance, engaged in the full of personal sex. And those are because, by understanding through the wisdom, by engaging in the wisdom, realizing the emptiness, by understanding, non-appearance of truly existence, non-appearance or non-existence of truly existence, by understanding by engaging that wisdom light of understanding non-appearance or non-existent or truly existent, through that, then again, one is able to achieve that kind of inexhaustible result while on the path and while beyond the path. Don't think enlightenment is far away. Don't conceive it as close by. Again, I guess maybe there can be two way of understanding these two lines. Again, according to some of the commentaries, don't think the enlightenments, don't think, that enlightenment. Even though by realizing the Dharmadhatu or not realizing the Dharmadhatu, one is able to help, one is able to fulfill one and others' purpose or not. When you have the due to realization of Dharmadhatu, then one is able to by achieving the full enlightenment, then one is able to fulfill the one's and others' purpose. And due to not realizing or understanding the Dharmadhatu, then one is not able to achieve full enlightenment, therefore unable to perfect or fulfill the purpose of one and others. But if you look from the if you look from attaining the four kayas or the three kayas or four kayas, from that point of view, then for those areas or those who are on the healed path, don't think they're enlightened far away, and those who are on the both of the path don't conceive it to be close by, And from ultimate point of view, if you look, then that is how it is, as it is said in the material, one of the materials writing. I cannot recall it. It could have been in Ornament of the Clear Realizations, or Ornament of the Sutra, in one of them, where it said there's nothing to be abandoned and there's nothing to be achieved. There's nothing to be abandoned and there's nothing to be achieved. So from ultimate point of view, in emptiness, from ultimate point of view, there's nothing to be abandoned. Neither there's nothing to be practiced and achieved. In the same way, from emptiness point of view, from the emptiness point of view, there's nothing is too far away and there's nothing is too close by. All of this is only on conventional level, only on conventional level. Only from conventional level, then the arhat, or those who are on the path to the arhat, they are far away or distant from achieving enlightenment. And the bodhisattvas are closer to achieve enlightenment. But those are only on conventional point of view. If you look from ultimate point of view, there's nothing, that is from ultimate point of view, then the arhat, arhat and those who are on the path to that, they are no distant from the enlightenment. Neither the bodhisattvas are closer to the enlightenment from the ultimate point of view. So from the Dharmadhatu point of view, from the ultimate point of view. So therefore, that is why we shouldn't, when you look from Dharmadhatu point of view, emptiness point of view, that is therefore one should not think that way. So again, due to the Dharmadhatu, if Dharmadhatu is the cause and the root, of the Nirmanakaya, Sambhavakaya, and the Amitas such as Amitas to live for eons and eons. If the Dharmadhatu is the cause and it has a benefit and cause to have, even when you are on the path, to live for long durations while you are on the path, and so that so how to realize? How can we realize that Dharmadhatu? How can we realize that Dharmadhatu? How to realize that Dharmadhatu? And so that is where next two lines, with the sixfold objections not appearing, is the awareness of reality just as it is. So again, explaining, the sixfold objects of six consciousness, the five sense consciousness and mental consciousness, and the object of those consciousness, the form, the sound, the smell, the taste, the tangible objects, and the phenomena objects, all those objects, sixfold objects of the six consciousness, as well as the six consciousness themselves, as well as the faculty, the sense faculties, they all, if you analyze, with your wisdom eye, if you analyze with a wisdom sword, then none of them, exist. Object not appearing, meaning, they do not exist inherently and truly. They do not exist when you try to analyze with that wisdom eye, with that analysis, then, none of those objects exist truly and inherently, and understanding that those objects not existing truly and inherently, and being aware of that, the wisdom that is aware of such reality just as it is. And so when you realize that, the ultimate nature of those objects as it is, that is, they are empty of truly existence. When you are able to realize that, when you have awareness of that, and through that awareness, through that realizations, then, one can realize the Dharmadhatu, and one can realize the Dharmadhatu, which is the cause of, again, which is mentioned before. So you can realize the Dharmadhatu, that is the cause of, as is mentioned before.
But Geshe-la,
Yes.
Dharmadhatu is permanent. So how can permanent phenomena be a cause?
Here the cause does not mean like the normal cause, okay? Because, sometimes the way we use the word, especially in some, just as we use, like sometimes you see in certain teachings, consciousness being permanent. Normally it's impermanent consciousness. But you see many, many teachings, in some, especially in tantric teachings and other teachings, sometimes you find the term mentioning such as the clear light mind as a permanent, premortal mind as a permanent. And there is a different meaning when they use when we say is a permanent, impermanent, and when they say is permanent, even if you use, it seems contradictions when you use two words, but it is no contradiction because it means different things. When you say is permanent, because the continuity never changes, the continuity is always there, that consciousness, clear light mind. It has from the very beginning, it continue, it is now, and it continue all the time. Because of that continuity, then it is called permanent. But even though there is same continuity, but still it changes. And therefore is permanent, impermanent. Okay? Just like same water, the continuity of water coming mountain up to the, which goes up to the oceans, because it's the same continuity, then you can say it's kind of, it is same. So in a sense, it's a permanent. But while it's the same continuity, but then that course of the water changes. Sometimes it's more clean, sometimes it's muddy, sometimes it's polluted, and the pollution also different at different places. And so therefore, again, that changes. Similarly, that is, even the continuity is there, so therefore is known as permanent, but because at the very beginning is with a lot of afflictive emotions, and then as you practice on the path, that mind becomes less more and more afflictive emotion that has been purified, clean, and become more and more enlightened, and there is a changes of that, and therefore is impermanent. So similarly, when you use the cause, then that can be, normally when we say cause and effect, that is impermanent. It means, something substantially transform into something else. The cause transform into the result. The seed transform into the plant. So there is change in that, the cause itself, the cause becoming something else, and so that is impermanent when we say cause and effect. That cause becomes something else. The seed become the plant, and then the plant dry and it becomes something else, and become maybe another what you call like mold, so it change and transform, it change, and so it is changing. But here when you say it's a cause, it's not necessarily something changing into something else, but due to that, something's happening. Due to that. Just like, for example, the emptiness of, if we say the emptiness of this computer, okay? The emptiness of this computer is permanent, okay? Emptiness is permanent. But this computer emptiness depends on this computer. If there's no computer, there's no emptiness of computer. But we still, normally we will not say this computer is cause of that emptiness of, because that emptiness is permanent. But sometimes we can use this as a cause of that emptiness because it depends on that computer. Without that computer, there is no emptiness of that computer. Therefore, the emptiness of the computer is very much dependent on the computer. Without computer, because there cannot be an emptiness of computer. And in that sense, sometimes you can use as being a cause, because without that, without that, it is not there. Do you get it? How that can be used differently? But normally when we say cause and effect as being impermanent, there is a different understanding of that than when we say it's a cause. Dharmadhatu is cause of something, because here is more, because here is Dharmadhatu is not really transforming into that, changing into that, but that result is dependent on Dharmadhatu. Without Dharmadhatu, it cannot that result cannot arises or cannot comes. So just like the emptiness and the emptiness of the computer and the computer itself. Okay. Yes, Amy.
This is back to what you were calling the consciousness of the three parts of the consciousness. In the first, when we're meditating on the conventional nature of the mind, and that wouldn't necessarily be entering the path, but that would be simply meditating on the conventional nature of the mind. And if one is able to to be with the conventional nature of the mind, or see it as from seeing it as empty, rest in that. Is that the first level where you said with concept, or is that before the first level?
Well, if you are just watching the conventional nature of the mind, then definitely you are not really then definitely not in the first level of the consciousness. The first level consciousness is realizing the ultimate nature of the mind with the reasoning and logic, or with a concept. So not only just meditating, but having the realization through meditation, then having the experiential understanding with the concept. But the object for that has to be the ultimate nature of the mind, ultimate nature of the phenomena, And so if you are just meditating on a conventional level, then it is a kind of the preparation for that, but not that itself. So first, one meditate on conventional level of the mind, recognize the objects conventionally. That is a clarity, is a awareness, is a luminous, all of that. And then, then going beyond that conventional level of the mind. And then if you go beyond that and then trying to, trying to analyze the ultimate nature of the mind, what is the ultimate nature of the mind, and then through that kind of analysis, meditation, investigation, once you realize, the mind do not exist inherently, truly by itself, as it appears to our mind, or to our ignorance, or as our ignorance perceive, that the mind is empty of truly inherent existence. And one you have that realizations through reasoning and logics, then that is the first step of the consciousness.
So that would be then the level of insight in the Lam Rim, that one would have had to achieve the insight level of the Lam Rim to be at that level. Is that what you're saying?
Not necessarily. Normally I will kind of differentiate the special insight and wisdom realizing emptiness. If it is special insight, it will definitely be a wisdom realizing emptiness. Or even not necessarily, I think, because again, there is a two kind of special insight. What we call worldly special insight and beyond worldly special insight. The worldly special insight is, is common to both Buddhists and non-Buddhists. But of course, when we talk about the main special insight in the Lam Rim, it is referring to, special insight realizing the emptiness. And if it is a special insight that realizing the emptiness, it has to be a wisdom realizing emptiness. But if something is wisdom realizing emptiness, it doesn't have to be special insight realizing emptiness. Because in order to have special insight realizing emptiness, first you need to have shamatha. Without shamatha, you cannot have the special insight.
Yeah.
But without shamatha, one can have a realization of emptiness. So without shamatha, one can have realization and emptiness, even though it's not special insight, but one can have wisdom realizing the emptiness, even without the shamatha.
But that's on an ultimate level, not on a conventional level.
Yeah, that is on ultimate level. Yeah. When we talk about emptiness, then definitely it is on ultimate level. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I have kind of, I had some kind of, what call cautions about that. Can someone has realizing emptiness without the shamatha? That has been something that has come in my mind for many, many years. And with that kind of cautions, and having read many, many different commentaries over the times on different Lamrim, Lojongs, and many, many other commentaries, then, my understanding conclusion is that someone can have a wisdom realizing emptiness without shamatha. But then what about special insight? So then I differentiate these two things: special insight realizing emptiness and wisdom realizing emptiness. In order to have special insight realizing emptiness, you need to have shamatha, but just in order to have I've seen some commentary where it seems to mention that one can have a realizing emptiness without the shamatha. And also His Holiness also has, mentioned kind of indirectly. And again, of course, His Holiness, as we know, sometimes he's very being humble and humility. And so sometimes he does not share his really experiences, but there are times when he did explain, when he says that, he does have bodhicitta mind. He have realization and emptiness, especially in the recent, I think in the last few years, he has been more sharing of those experiences. But what also he has made many times clear is that he don't have the shamatha. He has mentioned that many times. He never had the time. He wanted to dedicate to develop shamatha. You need to dedicate time over and in such an environment. And he had the wish, but he never kind of had the opportunity because of his responsibility and all of that. And therefore he said, I was unable to develop the shamatha. So what he indicated, he has wisdom realizing emptiness, but without shamatha. If we
Just to
take
clarify,
that,
do you mean Geshe direct?
not direct, but
Conceptual.
like conceptual and experiential, but conceptual, but not just intellectual, but it is experiential.
Okay.
And so therefore His Holiness says, he's on the first path of accumulations. And he said, he cannot move to the path of preparations, because to move to the path of preparation, then you need to have the special insight, and to have the special insight, you need a shamatha. So he said he hoped to move to the next stages, so again, so from all those different commentaries and His Holiness comments on all of that, then it seems to be kind of more, to me, clear that someone can have a realization of emptiness without the shamatha, but not a special insight. So yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Wow.
So yeah. So okay, we can do dedications. I was hoping to go a little bit further, but I think okay. Due to the merits of these virtuous actions, may I quickly attain the state of Guru Buddha and lead all living beings without exception into that enlightened state. May the supreme jewel Bodhicitta that has not arisen, arise and grow. Mm. And may that which has arisen not diminish, but increase more and more. May all beings everywhere plagued by the suffering of body and mind obtain an ocean of happiness and joy by virtue of my merit. May no living creature suffer, commit evil, or ever fall ill. May no one be afraid or belittled with a mind weighed down by depression. May the blind see form and the deaf hear sound. May those whose bodies are worn with toil be restored, finding repose. May the naked find clothing, hungry find food. May the thirsty find water and delicious drink. May the poor find wealth, and those weak with sorrow find joy. May the forlorn find hope, constant happiness, and prosperity. May there be timely rains and bountiful harvest. May all medicine be effective and wholesome prayer bear fruit. May all who are sick and ill quickly be freed from their ailments. Whatever disease they are in the world, may they never occur again. May the frightening cease to be afraid, and those bound be free. May the powerless find power, and may people think of benefiting each other. For as long as space remains, for as long as sentient beings remain, until then, may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining. And I think next week, I don't know, we don't have class. And then the week after that, we have the last one. And well, we're doing pretty much okay. You know, in terms I wasn't so sure. So I was hoping we could go maybe more, 10 more verses, and then maybe we might be able then next week. But we'll see, you know, maybe. And some of them are, maybe I don't need to go through so much details because it is about 10 bhumis, you know, from one bhumi to another bhumis. So some of them might not require so much explanation. So maybe hopefully we can. So again, thank you everyone joining, you know, it's not easy to, dedicate yourself when the class go on many weeks, you know. But I think many of you have been consistent and dedicated from the beginning, and so that is nice to see. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.